Welcome to Cheers. I'm your host, Avery Woods. Hi guys, welcome back to the Cheers podcast. I'm your host, Avery Woods, and we are kicking off the season 1 finale with these two beauties, Mrs. and Mrs. Lunden and Olivia Stallings, as well as their two cute pups walking around. If you guys hear that.
Yes, we do apologize for that.
Thank you guys so much for being here. Cheers.
Cheers.
We're drinking our morning cup of joe in
so
our
excited.
cute little Santa mugs. They hosted Scotty and I, so thank you guys so much.
It's been so
for
fun
having us and being on the pod.
Yes, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Before we get started, though, Olivia and I both wanted to personally apologize directly to all of the people that we have offended, especially the Black community, for the hurtful language that we used. There's no excuse for it, and we can't change what we said then, and it's something that we continue to learn from with an open heart, and it's not a word that we use today.
Yeah. Well, and we have and we will take full responsibility for the hurt and the pain that we know that we have caused people. And I think we've had a lot of fun like the past 2 years on TikTok, you know, creating this following and making videos and making new friends and things like that. But at the end of the day, we know that we have a responsibility to draw that line of what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
And in this, you know, situation, there is no gray area.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know, all in all, we are growing and learning every day to become better versions of ourselves for each other. Yeah. And, you know, for also the people that have followed our journey over the last couple of years and for our future family. But what we really want out of this today is that, you know, we are going to sit here with Avery and talk about our wedding and outfits and how we came out and things like that. But if you get anything from this podcast, we want you guys to know that we are sorry, and we hope that you feel that.
And I really appreciate you guys addressing it head on publicly. I know it's not an easy thing to do. And I've seen both online and personally knowing you guys, the work that you've put in and your plans to be better, not just, you know, as individuals, but as your family continues to grow. So I appreciate you guys, you know, being brave enough to speak about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity to do it.
Of course, yeah. Okay, so let's take it back. So you guys are both from the South and knew from a pretty young age that you were gay.
Yeah.
So kind of talk about that experience growing up.
Yeah. You can go first. We have two
Very
different stories.
Yeah.
Different experiences. So I grew up here in Georgia. And I feel like from an early age I did know, like, I think I describe it as when straight people were like starting to figure out that they like guys. I think I was kind of having that experience with girls. So in the 7th grade, I was like, oh my God, I think I have a crush on a girl. Maybe in hindsight, looking at it now at 27. But yeah, I feel like I always kind of knew, and my family grew up in church, but I never really grew up thinking that it was wrong, or my parents never said, you know, specifically that anything was wrong with it. So I was pretty comfortable when I felt like I could tell my mom. I was pretty comfortable and like knew in my head, like, this is for sure. I think I'm gay.
Yeah. And were you nervous because you came out to your mom first? Yeah. Were you nervous, or were you like, I know she's going to accept me no matter what?
I knew she was going to accept me, but I was like, I remember crying.
Yeah.
And I had like this fling with my best friend at the time. Like, that's how I knew that I was gay. And she was like, Olivia, I know, like, I've seen you two together. Like, it makes sense. Like, it's okay. And my whole family reacted that way. Like, my grandma did. When she was alive at the time, my dad was cool about it. And he is over like a huge church in Atlanta. So I had a lot of support. Like, no one in my life really acted like it was a big deal. Like, I feel like my family sort of acted like you don't have to come out. Like, you can just live your life.
Yeah.
You know?
That's incredible, though.
Yeah, they were really awesome.
Especially in the South. I feel like it's totally different compared to where I'm from on the West Coast. So I just love that you automatically felt, you know, accepted.
Yeah, I had a really, really good experience. I'm very thankful for it.
Yeah, for sure.
And Lunden, I know your story is much different.
Yeah. So I am born and raised from Arkansas, and I grew up Church of Christ, and you know, I'd been going to church my whole life. My family was always taking me, things like that. And I don't know if I necessarily knew from a young age that I was gay. And I did, you know, have boyfriends, and I think that maybe that was kind of just like a shield or something of like me trying to figure out like who I was. But I did have girlfriends throughout high school as well, trying to find myself, trying to figure out, was this really who I was? And I think that every kid growing up, especially in the closet or in a place to where you know that you're automatically not going to be accepted where you live, I'm sure that a lot of people can resonate with that, and being scared and feeling lonely and all the things. And I wouldn't say that like it was a horrible experience, like I didn't get kicked out of my house and I wasn't like shamed or shunned or anything, but it was an experience, and we kind of talked about this like whenever you got here, of just about me feeling like I needed to give my parents some grace to kind of like understand who I was and who I was becoming. And I'll never forget the conversation that I had with my mom. And technically I got outed, I guess you would say. So someone in my school or whatever like had kind of told on me. And it was like, which, by the way, anyone who's watching this, don't out
do
people.
that.
It's like,
yeah, that's not anyone
like the
else's
worst thing
choice
you
to
can
make
do.
but yourself.
And I think that that's what was the worst thing for me, is I felt like I couldn't tell my story, and I felt like I was kind of robbed from the opportunity of getting to my parents didn't have me explain myself. I wasn't punished, but I felt like I felt like I owed it to them to tell them the new me and who I was, because who I was in front of them wasn't who I was towards, my girlfriends, or who I was hiding, and I had a completely different life. And I struggled with that a lot in high school, of feeling the feelings of having to live two separate lives. And I felt like that was such a hard thing on me mentally. And I was telling you, I'm a very mentally strong person, and I felt like I was slipping and I was losing myself, and I was like, something has got to give. And when that opportunity came of when I guess I got outed, I had the conversation with my mom and my dad, and it was pretty much a similar situation of like, I felt like I wanted to tell them who I was, to learn the new me. And it's not necessarily the new me, because I've always been the same goofy, outgoing, loud Lunden that I've always been, but I felt like I couldn't be my whole self around them. And they respected that. And I think that my mom kind of prepared me for what was to come. And it was like, she didn't ever say like, this is not who you are, and like, you need to like go to church and like do all these things. It wasn't ever that way. And I appreciate that. And I know that a lot of times, like in the South, us growing up, literally Church of Christ, like the church is very much so like, oh, it's a sin. Like you're living in sin. And it wasn't that. And I'm grateful for that. But it was more of like, I wanted to give them time to, like I said, get to know the new me and how I was going to go about my life in the future. And I'll never forget the conversation I had with my dad. And we were sitting up in my bedroom, and I pretty much was just like, this is who I know, who I am. And I felt like I've been slipping for so long, and I just want to know that you're there. And one day I know that I'm going to marry a woman. I don't know who it is. I don't know when that's going to be, but I want you to be there. It's going to be hurt. But I want you to be there. And I want my dad by my side. I want my family there. And I'll never forget, he wasn't offended, but he was like, there wouldn't be any other way. Yeah. And I know that it took, my mom a little bit more to not understand, but grasp my new life.
But I think people have to understand, or at least try to understand, in our perspective as being gay or having family members that you come out to, that it's really important to give people that grace of understanding. And in a perfect world, would we want everybody to just be open and understand? Absolutely. But you have to live in reality, right? Mm-hmm. So, thinking back on our situation, just because I came out to my mom at such a young age, and like I knew that I was starting to like girls, there was still some confusion in my head. Like, I had like a boyfriend or two in high school or whatever. And I had to, accept these things about myself and figure out myself. And I gave myself that time and that grace to like figure out what I liked, and for me to be okay with it and accept myself. Yeah. And so I feel like it's important to know when you go into, coming out to someone, or just even telling someone who you're dating, that if they don't accept it right off the bat, like that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I mean,
Well,
our parents have probably envisioned, you know, this life for us that wasn't probably with women. I know my dad didn't envision me to be with a woman, right? But at the end of the day,
and I think, like, you know, to all in all, like, my experience is I knew how hard of an internal battle it was with me. And I can only, like, I have to give that to my mom and to my family and my dad and all the people in my life to understand, like, okay, I had to take the time to figure out who I was. And if I had to do that, I know that my parents and everyone else in my life needs to take that time as well. And again, it was never like a bad thing. It was never a horrible thing. But I wanted to be confident in myself before I could come to them to be confident in me. If you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that makes sense or not, but that just was my personal experience. And now, to this day, my dad walked me down the aisle September 30th, and my mom was hand in hand walking down the aisle with my brother. My sister stood up there, my cousins, my aunts, and you know what I mean? Like, everyone was there supporting me. And I think that in a part of our vows, I literally said to Olivia, I was like, the people here today, like, we looked out to all the people, and I was like, look, these people sitting in these seats today, that's our village. Those are the people that love us and support us, and that's all you need, you know?
Yeah, you guys last night read us your vows, Scotty and I, and we were like in tears because it was just so pure and heartfelt, because it wasn't just about you guys, it was about, you know, everyone in your life that's like supported you in your village, like you said. But we also talked a couple of days ago when we got here about how, you know, when you guys come out, it's almost like people mourn the life that they expected for you.
yeah, it's so true.
Which is hard to think about. And, you know, I think about that for my kids of, I would be, I mean, you guys know I would be more than accepting if my kids were ever gay, but it's just not what you predicted or expected. And also, you don't want them to have to go through hardships in life that come with that life. And I think that's what you were talking about, Lunden, that your mom was kind of mourning what she expected.
Yeah, it was just what she gravitated to is, you know, like how she grew up and, you know, my sister, like, you know, in a straight marriage and like all the things. And like, again, it was never something that I wasn't punished, but it was just something that I had to be like, you know what? I get it, you know? And I think that that's what grew our relationship as mother and daughter of someone who I've lived my life in a life for so long. And that's why I brought her into, you know, the relationship, especially with Olivia. Like, sometimes I feel left out when it comes to Olivia and my mom and my sister. I'm like, hello, do y'all remember
me? I'm
me?
actually your biological daughter.
Yes, I'm like, I'm actually your daughter. But I think that it's amazing that, you know, my mom and my sister and my like all of my entire family welcomed Olivia in open arms and never thought twice. I mean, I came to them when I told them I was going to propose, and I recorded them all, and almost every single one of them cried because they knew that she's what I like was the missing piece of my life.
Yeah,
well,
forever.
It's funny, in my vows I wrote about your mom and my vows, and I
said, loved it. Yeah,
the first day I met her mom, we were in your driveway at your house when I pulled up in Arkansas, and her mom literally hugged me, and I swear it's like she's been attached to my hip ever since I met her for the first time.
Yeah,
like,
it was just something that was missing.
Yeah,
you know?
And you just know, it's just like she probably just had a feeling. Like,
and she knew that, right? Like, she knew that about me. She knew that was missing in my life, and it really hits home whenever your mom wants it for you. At one point in time, it was such a scary situation, and I know I'm gravitating towards my mom, but I have such a good relationship with her, and I feel like that's what, you know, trans people, gay people, ever like trying to come out and be themselves. You need your mom.
Yeah,
totally.
You know, you need your mom.
And you guys kind of dated other women, and you graduated high school. Can you kind of talk about your college experience and what you guys studied? Because I don't feel like people realize, like, you guys, you know, got your degrees and, you know, have careers.
Had a whole life
and
before TikTok.
Yeah. So kind of talk about like college life, what you studied.
Yeah. Do you want to go first? Talk a little bit about social work.
Okay, so I went to Jacksonville State, which is a very small college in Jacksonville, Alabama. And I did my undergraduate there in social work, and I think I knew, like, right off the bat that I wanted to do social work. I had gone to what are those called, like when you go and visit the school or whatever and you can like walk around,
like a campus tour?
And I had thought in high school that I kind of wanted to do like something in psychology, but I think I was just not thinking of the right thing. Anyway, I met a social work teacher who ended up being one of my social work teachers later in school. And she was kind of telling me about it. And I was like, oh, wait, like, I'll just do this. I'll just say that this is my major freshman year. I can change it, whatever. And I ended up loving it. But with social work, you really have to have your master's degree to get, like, any kind of job. And then in that, you have to get your license. You can work without it, but, like, you can't go super far. So right after undergrad, I applied to go to graduate school, and I got into the University of Alabama. And I finished graduate school in 2021. And then I went straight into my job at Children's Healthcare, and I was working in behavioral mental health in the emergency room, which was a very trying time for us.
We talked about that because obviously working in PICU, we related to a lot of, like, seeing a lot of the same trauma. Because social workers, God bless you all.
It's
like,
a lot.
It's so much to see, especially with mental health.
When coming straight out of school, I feel like, you know, I had done internships. Like, I had worked in a woman's shelter, and then in undergrad I worked for like CPS, like Child Protective Services, and I saw stuff there, but it wasn't like kind of being on that front line of being like, now I'm the person taking care of people. And I feel like when you learn about it in books and you hear about it, it's like, it's easier to digest. And then when you see it right in front of you and you like see these kids come in, it's really sad, it's really scary, but I still love it. I love what I do. But ultimately I ended up not loving working 12-hour shifts. I didn't feel like it was for me, and our schedules kind of felt opposite.
I also feel like
at home.
it's sorry to cut you off.
No.
I feel like it's not, people don't realize, you know, 12 plus hour shifts, especially in the medical world, it's not just physically exhausting, it's mentally draining. When you're doing that 3 times a week, it's a lot.
Well, she would come home sometimes and there would be like no moods or anything. Like, she just would come in and we like wouldn't even really talk. Like, we would just like, you know,
She'd get me dinner and we'd go to bed.
And it was just like the same routine, and it was just draining. You know?
And like they say, the burnout or whatever, and I don't really think necessarily I had burnout. I think the social work field is so broad. Like, you can really get into like any part of it. And I think I just put my feet in the water in behavioral mental health, and I liked it, but I don't think ultimately it's like what I want to do with my social work career.
Fulfilling for you, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, and I enjoyed it and I learned a lot, but I don't, like I said, I don't know if it's exactly what I want to do, and I don't know if I know that yet. So I decided to leave. We felt comfortable enough on TikTok with London's job that I could leave my job. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take my licensure exam. I should have done it right out of graduate school, but I didn't. And so I studied for a little while, and I underestimated the amount of time it takes to work with the state. So it took me 3 months to get approved to take my board exam, and I was not expecting that. So I kind of started studying, and by the time I got approved to take it, it was like February of, what is this year, 2023? And then we had started really diving into wedding planning. Like, our summer was insane. Like, every weekend we had something to do. And honestly, I was just kind of pushing it off. I was like, I'll study. I'll do it. I'll take it. And then I got down to it, and I got a reminder from the board exam that was like, you only have 1 year to take this exam, so it's due. You have to take it before February 2024, or you have to reapply and pay all this money and do it over again. So now we're back to square one. We're studying. We're going to take the licensure exam. We're going to get it done, have it behind us.
Send your good lucks.
Yes.
And good for you. Like, this was a huge year for you guys, and you were like so lucky to be able to live in the moment and focus on that. You got your degree. Like, it's always there to
regrets.
take.
No, none at all. It's just, I think the way the cookie crumbled, and now I feel like when I'm ready to go back to social work and figure out what exactly I want to do, I have all my ducks in a row, and I'm ready to do it.
That's amazing. And London, your college life?
Yeah, so I went to the University of Central Arkansas. I think we graduated undergrad at the same time in 2019. And I got my majors in broadcast journalism and marketing. And I was completely fulfilled and lived and breathed journalism. Like, I was very passionate about it. I told you, like, when I do things, I do it 110%. So I was very indulged in everything that I was doing in school. And it's funny because, like, I wasn't a very good student in high school, but I almost had a 4.0. Like, I was like great through college. Isn't that crazy? Of how
I was the same way.
I think it's different when you're passionate about it. Like,
Yes, and you're-
in high school, you do what everyone else does, but in college, you
Yes.
to like choose what you want to
Yeah.
study, and
Yes.
it's actually interesting.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
like,
more fun.
Totally.
yeah, and I always like, I don't know, not that I got told, but like I just like didn't feel like I was a good test taker and like all the things. But all that to say, you know, I got to college and I found that I really loved like telling stories and telling stories for people that didn't have the voice to tell stories. And I got so many good opportunities throughout that journalism program to go by myself and learn and talk to so many different people of walks of life. And it was just amazing, an amazing experience. And I got to intern at a big news station and for like half of a year. And it was like, it was something that I didn't, when I did it like professionally, it was like very, I mean, I told you like one of those stories. It was just
Yeah.
like very hard.
Yeah.
And I, you know, dipped my feet into, I knew that I was, like my passion is people. That has always been that for me. I am passionate about people, whether I'm telling stories for people, whether I'm helping get their story out there, whether I'm selling them something, whether I'm helping them better themselves to get to where they need to be. And so I kind of took a chance and was like, you know, at the end of the day, I'm also a realist. So I know that, you know, if I am doing a job, I have my degree at the end of the day, like I can always go back there if I want to.
Yeah.
I can always, just literally to her point, like she can always go back to social work. And I actually had a recruiter at my current company. I'm in tech sales now. And they reached out to me and they just, you know, saw something in me, and I took a chance and interviewed and got hired to work through a tech company and do sales. And I didn't have experience in sales. I also didn't have experience in technology. I was like, I mean, yeah, I can work on a laptop and like do phones and stuff. But all that to say, I got the job and I moved to Austin, Texas, and lived there for 3.5 years and worked extremely hard to work my way up into the company, and it's where it landed me here now. And I think that fulfills me, being passionate about people. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to do sales forever. I don't know, you know, everyone has to move and grow, and like I've been with my current company for almost 5 years now. So I think that, I don't know, I'm always looking for more. Something about me is like, I'm always like, what else can I do?
Yeah.
I don't like, Olivia makes fun of me because when I wake up in the mornings, I immediately put my shoes on.
She
And I'm like,
hits the
Oh yeah,
ground
she's
running.
up ready to go, guys.
No.
She's
like,
up
where are
ready
we
to
going?
go.
Where can we go? Like
Literally dragging me out of it.
yes, like I'm ready to do something. So all that to say, that kind of gets into the story of like how we met. Is
Yeah,
how,
so I was gonna ask.
how
Like
I got here.
from there, I mean, I've already heard it, but I want to hear it again.
Yeah.
Tell me your love story.
Yeah, so pretty much all short version for the podcast.
Yeah.
I have a golden retriever, Willow. I don't know if you can see her in the frame or not. She's sitting right next to me.
And Howie's somewhere. being
Howie is
good,
somewhere,
so
so
don't
I'm
say
sure you've heard
anything.
him.
Yeah, he's
Multiple
quiet taking a
times.
nap right now. We'll take advantage.
Yes.
And they're so cute, you guys. Like
They're something else.
Their dogs are so cute.
So Olivia reached out to me a while ago, years ago actually.
Yeah.
And knew that I had Willow, my golden retriever. And
One, because some people get confused on that. The lesbian circle. I mean, lesbians just know other lesbians, right?
if
Like,
you're
it's
watching,
What did
and
you
you're
call it? You
lesbian,
called it like a gay web or something. When
It's
you
like a
explained it to
community,
me.
like
the lesbian web.
Yeah.
We're all just a little intertwined, and we know.
everybody knows each
We
other.
know each other.
Yeah, and
So
we had,
that's why we followed each other. We didn't know each other.
but we had
social media
never
knew each other.
spoke,
No.
never exchanged words, like
Yeah.
whatever. And she'd reach out to me asking if I knew or where I got Willow because she wanted a golden, and I
When I had already looked here in Atlanta, and they were like $4,500, and I was like, not gonna do that. And so at this point, I was desperate. I was like,
Yeah.
does anybody who have a golden retriever know where I can get one that's
Right.
not this expensive?
yeah. So all in all, I was like, no, like Willow was like a one-time thing, but there's this girl in Memphis that is selling them, and I am getting one for my mom for her birthday. And I was like, here's a number, like, I don't know if it can work out for you, whatever. And then we didn't speak for
A while.
and I didn't even know that she ended up getting Howie. And we reconvened and connected. When was it?
It was like that next spring, probably.
Yeah. And I actually, around that time, got a call from my job, and they were promoting me to move to Atlanta to take a field position. And from there, that's where all the weird stuff starts to happen.
We are extremely intertwined.
Yeah, their story like doesn't even sound real. Like Scotty and I were listening to it and we're like, how's it even possible?
We had to show like proof. We were like, no,
like,
look how crazy this is.
It's like the definition of like too good to be true, but it is true.
Yeah, but also
what I mean?
so meant to be.
Very meant to be.
Yeah, so I guess I reached out to you and was like,
Yeah, so I mean, like we had, I guess, gone back or like maybe flirted through DM or whatever. Like,
yeah.
And you had mentioned that you were going to be in town because that's what was like when you were meeting your team, like your potential team. And what's crazy is she was like, yeah, I'll be in town. Well, I'm thinking this whole time we're in like a suburb of Atlanta, 20 minutes from Atlanta. And she's like, yeah, I'm going to be in town. I'm thinking she means Atlanta. If she's working for like a company, I'm like, surely you're not around here. Well, she was like, yeah, this is where they're putting me up in this hotel. And it was...
So how it actually, like, from my point of view is I was like going internal with my company of like, you know, me coming here and like meeting the team and like getting ramped up and stuff. And they were like, I was talking to some of the people on the team and like some people that previously have lived here, and they were giving me recommendations on where to live and like, here's where the current office is and like, here's where you should stay around. And so they were giving me, you know, different
But the hotel they put you up in.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like they were giving me like hotel recommendations, things like that. And so like I stayed in one of the hotels that one of the friends had given me, and I was telling Olivia, she was like, oh yeah, like casual, cool girl, like where are you staying, blah, blah. And I sent her the picture of the link of it, and she was like, are you serious?
Literally 3 minutes from my apartment. Like it was on the same street.
Yeah. So because like it's like the interstate off of where the office was.
Yeah.
And so all that to say, and I was also telling her too, like whenever we were out to dinner on our first date, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
I think we even remember what each other were wearing on our first date.
I do remember you were wearing those green, the Luckies.
The Jordan 1 Luckies, if you know, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And
didn't you say you ordered food but you didn't eat a bite because you were so nervous?
And I also, this is funny, I don't drink, and I ordered a beer.
You're like, I'm going to look so cool if I order a beer right
let me
now.
get a Michelob. And she was like, what?
Yeah, which is so weird to me now because the way you would never, even if you did order a drink, it would not be a beer.
Like, it'd be literally a Shirley Temple. Like,
Yeah.
Like, I'm confused. And so I was just so, I don't know, like I saw her and I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
She is stunning.
Yeah, they're both in person. Like, we're taken aback here.
And like I saw like her photos and I was like, she's gorgeous.
You're like,
but,
this has to be FaceTime.
It's like, yeah, it's like never as good as it seems
Yeah.
in real life. And so I walked up and she had her sunglasses on and she was wearing this like white tank and like had on these jeans and just like all of her jewelry and like looked so cute. She smelled so good, like just like a pretty girly girl.
Yeah.
And she stood up and like took her glasses off and I was just like, oh,
You're like,
God.
oh, shit.
Like I'm
in trouble.
I'm in for it for sure.
Tell them about my car.
Oh, and this is funny. So we were sitting there and like we were just like so smiley. Like I don't know if we stopped smiling.
Like we are now.
I'm like,
It's so cute.
and we were just like, I was trying to make, I'm always like a jokester. Like I'm always like laughing and stuff. And I'm like, what hot girl rolled in here and parked completely sideways in this parking spot? I was like, they're insane. And she was like, that's my car.
I was like, that was actually me. And she was like, oh. And I was like, yeah.
Hence why Olivia never drives.
don't drive.
She doesn't drive.
I also don't park.
That's a rule in the Stallings household.
Yeah.
Lynn's allowed to drive.
Yeah.
So all in all, to wrap things up, we were sitting there at dinner or something, and we were talking. Like I obviously had no idea where she lived. Like I didn't know anything about her really. Honestly, like we were just getting to know each other, and I had a couple people in the area like tell me apartment complexes where to live, and like because mind you, like I've never been to Georgia, I've never been to Atlanta. I was living in Austin, the whole thing, and the Catherine apartments were brand new at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, those look very aesthetic and clean and nice. And they were like all white. They were so cute. And so I was like, I don't know where else to live. So they were recommended to me. So I'll just live there. And so I was telling her, I was like, oh, like I'm looking at these apartments. And she was like,
said, I've been living here for 3 years.
Yeah. So I was like, okay.
Wait, you lived there for
Yes.
2
You
years?
lived there. I didn't think we told you this.
No.
Yeah, I lived there. I had 2 roommates, and she was like, "Yeah, I found this great apartment." Like, da-da-da. And I was like, "That's where I live."
Oh
I
my
know all about it.
Yeah. So all in all, like that is kind of how we met and like got started. And obviously, we didn't spend a day apart from that day on.
We've
I
been
don't think.
glued to the hip.
Yeah.
Truly.
And
I love
It's
that.
just been fun.
Yeah.
So how far into your relationship were you like, let's do TikToks?
I never like consciously made the decision. Like our TikTok that blew up and kind of started us on TikTok was like random. Like it was like one of those stories you hear people are like, I just posted it and it went
Was that
viral.
the lesbian aunt going to Thanksgiving?
No, it was way before
so
that. It was an OOTD.
It's funny because I had a little bit of following because I would post Willow. And
Yeah.
like Willow, like I would just post like videos of her that kind of went a little viral in like 2020. And I kind of got like I don't know, maybe like 50,000 followers or something, maybe
It
100,000.
was so easy back then to go viral.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you
TikTok
know-
was totally
yeah.
different in like
Yeah.
2020.
100%.
Yeah.
And so I had a little bit of a following, but they had no idea. I don't even think I ever really showed my face in half of them. So I don't even think they knew who I was or like obviously who she was. And then for fun, we were
going to dinner.
We were going to dinner and we were like, let's
remember, it was
record our
September.
outfits. And we did it on her profile
Account that
actually.
had no followers. Like I was just a scrolling account.
Yeah. And then that kind of like blew up and everyone was like, wait, y'all are no, y'all are sisters. Like it was like everyone was so confused. They were like, wait, y'all are dating? And it was like this whole thing. And then
we posted another one that same night on hers. Again, like no real thought behind it. We were just posting to post.
it was like something like I'm obsessed. Like, you know, that sound or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then I flipped it over to Olivia and she literally looked like Topanga or like Jennifer Aniston. And everyone was like, I think everybody was a little bit more infatuated with Olivia because they were like, oh God, that she's beautiful. And so it really just started from there. And like, we were like, oh, people like our outfits. Like we're 2 girls. We share clothes. We love fashion.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool because Olivia, we have a lot of similar fashion, like the Ralph Lauren, like, you know what I mean? Like J.
Oh,
Crew.
I saw them fighting yesterday about wearing a jacket.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Liv was like, can I wear this jacket? And London's like, no, I haven't worn that yet.
Period.
Yeah, we're not breaking the rules.
But Jonathan like understood.
Yeah,
but
because-
I thought you might let it slide.
But it's cute because you guys like help style each other and like share
Yes.
clothes. I just love that.
And literally, like, over Thanksgiving, I did the same thing with her. I was like, can I wear that sweater? And she was like, I haven't worn it yet. And I was like, all right, respect. So, yeah, so we have similar style, but also, like, I feel like I have my own little London twist of, like, the hats and the sneakers. And then Olivia's, like, bows and
Headbands and pearls.
Yes, all the girl things. So it's just been fun. And I think that we also love to have that feminine, female, lesbian representation of, like, you can look like us and be gay.
Yeah.
It's
You don't have
not.
to look any certain way.
It's literally has nothing to do with the way you look.
no.
Yeah.
So that's what has been encouraged us to at first because a lot of people were so shocked, quote unquote, that we were together.
Yeah.
And we were like, you know what? We need to put it out there more. Like, we need to let people know that not everyone looks the same, you know?
Like when we were coming out like in high school and stuff, like back in 2014, 2015, whenever it was, there were really no lesbians I felt like that looked like us.
Yeah.
Like there was nobody that when social media wasn't, we were on social media, but it was nowhere near the extent of where we're at today. And so there really wasn't, I feel like, that representation that you could see on a daily like you can now.
Totally.
And now I feel like if we have, a platform where other girls that were our age or even guys can look at us and think that we're not like a stereotypical type. And if we can do it, then they can do it.
Yeah, and I mean, we've gotten so many messages that makes us feel good, honestly, of like girls being like, I felt so bad about myself, or I felt so, disconnected from who I am. And like, I see that, no, I can wear my J. Crew. I can wear my heels and my Prada bag, or like, you know what I mean? Just like being super girly and all the things. And I can be gay. Like, I can be myself.
Yes.
You know?
I don't understand why people are so like infatuated or fixed on someone's physical appearance in relation to their sexuality. It just that has
no
nothing.
correlation.
It has nothing to do with they just don't correlate. But I love I mean, I've been obsessed with you since the beginning. Like, I was like, if I liked girls, I would be like, hey, do you guys have any friends? Like, you guys are just iconic. So, how long after dating did you guys get engaged? And then I want to hear the engagement story because I love it.
It's wild.
It's nuts.
is really
Again,
wild.
one of those things that you're
We
like,
also have two perspectives on
Yeah.
it.
okay,
It was like right at a year.
Yeah.
We were dating like right at a year.
okay.
And which, it's funny about that because everyone is just like, a year? Like, there's no
How'd
way.
you know?
And like, does it sound like maybe like the way it sounds and stuff? But I mean, it sounds so cliche and so insane. And I've been in a lot of relationships, not a lot, but you know what I mean? I've been in past relationships. And the moment that I met Olivia, I truly was like, I think this is it for me. Like, I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm going to marry this girl. But I was like, I truly think that I have found where I need to be.
I felt that with David.
You know?
It's just one of those things where people don't believe you. It's just when you know, you know.
Yeah, like truly, like,
100%.
there's no timestamp
Yep.
on what you feel.
Totally.
And so, yeah, so I mean, that was how it was. And I think that whenever we knew, it's funny, we literally just told you and Scotty this yesterday or day before, but pretty much our engagement story is just honestly iconic. It's insane.
It is
another
iconic.
one
And
where-
all the photos on your little gallery wall of the engagement, I love it so much.
Do you want to start it?
Yeah, I feel like it almost sounds like people are like, I can't believe that. And I'm like, no, I swear to God, it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we decided that early on, before we even were like talking about getting engaged, we really wanted to go to Charleston. We felt like it was our vibe. Neither one of us had ever been. We were like, it'd be a fun little vacay. It had nothing to do with an engagement.
No, yeah, we were just planning
Just a
couples trip. Yeah,
Yeah.
getaway.
So then, obviously, separately, like we knew we wanted to get married, but we separately started planning our engagements. And Charleston had never even crossed my mind, like, never even thought about it. I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to propose to London at the beach on our family beach trip. And I'm going to do family beach pictures. She's very involved with her family. I know they would want to be there, this, that, and the other. So we're driving in the car one day. I'm like starting to plan this. Like, I've like reached out to photographers in Seaside, like trying to plan it. We're driving down in the car one day, and London's like, I feel like I know what you're going to do when you propose. And I was like, what are you talking about? Also, I have no poker face, literally at all. Like, my face gets beet red. I start laughing, like, whatever. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, I don't know. It just makes the most sense for you to propose to me at the beach because my whole family's going to be there, and we're taking those pictures. And I was like,
I think I was testing her. I'm still,
Well, I
I'm still
failed.
wondering why I asked you that, but
Because you're
Don't
nosy.
know.
I'm the same way.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
It's
it was
also when
eating at me.
you're like a planner and like a control freak, because that's me. I'm like a control freak planner. So I'm like, I need to know what's happening. So I would poke and prod like that.
Yeah.
too.
well, she did. And so I was like, instantly in my mind, I was like, okay, Olivia, you have to think fast. Like, what are we going to do? So I was like, okay, you're right. I am. You just ruined your surprise, but you don't know when at the beach. You don't know how, but it's at the beach. Okay, so get off my back. So I was going to let her think that, and then I knew, I was like, you have to come up with a different plan. So I'm at work the next day, and again, I'm working 12-hour shifts, so I have so much time away from her. And I call her mom the next day, and I'm like, listen, London just guessed the whole thing, so we're going to do it in Charleston. And I remember being on the phone with Ashley, and she was like, pause. It was like,
Because my mom knows that I'm proposing to her
right.
at Charleston.
I forgot to mention that part. So she's already talked to her mom about wanting to propose in Charleston. And so when I tell Miss Ashley that, she literally doesn't say anything for like 5 seconds. I'm like, what's the problem? Like, do you think that's a bad idea? She was like, no, that's a great idea. That's great. And I didn't catch on to anything. So I'm like, okay, yeah, like we already have this boat paid for. Like, we're going to get on this boat and I'm going to do it there. So now maybe you should intertwine yours.
So all that to say, we planned to be on this sailboat catamaran type thing. That's the reason why we wanted to go to Charleston.
Yeah,
honestly,
to get on
is
this
to do
boat.
that.
Yeah.
So from the instant I knew that we were planning that, again, I'm a planner, so I had this planned from like January, February, and we didn't go till May, right? May.
Yeah.
And so I have told my whole family. Well, I told my whole family, and then I went to Olivia's dad, and I talked to him, and had his little blessing and all that, and then I talked to Olivia's sister, or her sisters, and her brother, and from there, I was like, okay, I got this. Like, we were so caught up in planning each other's that we had no idea of thinking about our own. And so it wasn't even a twinkle in my eye. I just thought, I was like, this is going to be epic. Like, I have this whole thing for her. It's going to be perfect. Like, her ring was done. Everything was just perfect. And so we reached out. It's funny. We reached out to 2 separate photographers. Yours was
Chelsea Page,
and mine was Clay Austin, who was actually our wedding photographer. And I reached out to Clay, and we reached out to them both a month apart exactly.
Yeah, we looked back at our Instagram
Crazy.
DMs, and it was exactly 1 month apart.
Told them the exact same thing, the exact story, whatever. We reached out to Charleston Sailing Adventures, and I told them, which I guess you didn't. Did you end up telling them?
No, I only told Chelsea.
Okay,
Chelsea
so
talked to them for
I
me.
talked to them, and I think I was the first one, so like they didn't know that Olivia was gonna do it as well. And I tell Clay, and you know, he gets there, and I'm like, we need to have a plan though. Like I need you to be in like a crew shirt or a crew hat, so she doesn't think that anything's off. And so she told Chelsea the exact same thing.
And they had all their cameras like up underneath the boat. So when we get there, it looked so
It
normal.
looked perfect. And Chelsea and Clay got there first, obviously. And Clay was telling us this afterwards. And he said that he was standing there, and then Chelsea walked up, or vice versa. And they were like, we're here for the stalling engagement. Like, I'm the photographer. And he was like, I'm also the photographer. And like, they were so confused. And then they noticed each other because they had previously worked together. And they were like, he was like, what are you doing here? And she was like, I'm here for Olivia Bennett. Like, she's proposing. And he was like, oh my God, they're proposing to each
the same
other.
time.
And so they just fell out. They were like, this is going to be amazing. And they were both perfect. I mean, I think I told you guys the other night, I looked back and Clay was trying so hard not to laugh. He at one point was steering the sailboat. Like he was literally like
He's like in full character.
Yes.
He's like, I'm a paid actor at this point.
Yep. And so all that to say is I was so nervous because, and like, I normally don't get super nervous, but I was like,
It's a big moment.
no, it was.
And on a boat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so I proposed, you know, we were like sitting up on that little like mesh net thing. I proposed, and then
Wait, no, I want more details than that.
so I had my ring, her ring box, strapped into the side of my thong.
Oh, yeah, because you were wearing a dress. Okay.
We both were.
Slay.
no
That's
pockets.
actually such a slay.
Yeah, I had no pockets, and it's unusual for me to be the one to carry the purse. At least back then, I've gotten a little bit more into bags lately, but back then I didn't carry the purse, so I knew that if she'd be like,
Why are you wearing a purse?
Right. It would have
Yeah.
been weird.
purse. Yeah. And so I have this ring box like in the back of my thong, which how did that happen? Don't know. Thank you, Calvin Klein. And we get there, and Olivia's like acting pretty chill, honestly. Like I was just like, she has no idea that it's coming, like, you know, and I'm sitting
so
on the
nervous
edge of my
myself.
seat, and I get like I get motion sickness, and I like get anxious on like water and stuff, and so I was sitting on the edge of my seat, and she thought that I was like gonna get sick or something, like I was getting nervous or whatever being on the boat, but it really was just like I was fine. I took a Dramamine, and I was in there like swimwear. I knew I was like, I got this, but I'm just like terrified that I'm gonna drop this ring in the ocean.
Yeah.
Or wherever we were. I don't even know if that's an ocean bay. I don't know.
Not sure.
And so we get down there, whatever, and I only told you one thing, and I literally looked at Olivia, and I was like, all I know is that I want to spend the rest of my life with you, and I never want to ever have a day without you in my life. And I pulled out the ring.
Cry right now.
Oh, I'm like already getting there.
I pulled out the ring, and I was like, I didn't even say, will you? I was like, marry me. Like, let's get married. And I don't even know if she said yes yet because she was so frazzled. And then you can say what
I
you
think
said.
I was crying, and I was also
You did cry, yeah.
internally panicking.
Because you're like,
I was like, wait a minute. I was supposed to do this too. So I was like crying. No, because there's pictures and they go in chronological order. So you said that and we hugged and I said yes. And so I pulled back and I said, Lunden, you aren't going to believe this. And she's like, oh my God, what? Like she's so dramatic. She's like, oh my God, what? And I'm like laughing, crying. And I'm like, pull the ring out of my pocket because I was wearing a dress that had little fold over pockets. So I had the ring loose in the pocket of my dress on this boat.
On a boat.
And I pull it out and I was like, will you marry me? And I asked her the same question. And we literally have the best photo of
I
you.
was laid flat out on my back.
I could not believe it.
It was like, I felt like an out-of-body experience. I was like, is this really happening? And we just laughed and
then
giggled.
we turned around because
there's
Clay
a
and Chelsea
picture
are
of us.
behind us, and we're like, "That's my photographer," and she's like, "That's my photographer."
And we're like, there's a picture of us pointing at them,
Yeah.
and like they're just like laughing and stuff. And it was like the woman who was driving the boat, the captain.
Yeah, the captain.
She was literally like, oh my God, like everyone
like,
was
"I've
just
never
like,
heard of
what
this in
just
my life."
happened? And we actually had 5-star, like really nice dinner reservations afterwards that I had planned for us. And while we were on the boat, we called and canceled it, and we just ran the streets of Charleston barefoot and ate
pizza
and drank Dr. Pepper. And it was literally the best night. Like,
Oh my God.
It really
it was the best night. I mean, our wedding night was our best night.
Yeah.
But that was
Close second.
That was a close
and
second.
Taylor Swift.
in Taylor Swift.
And so how did your family wasn't there, right?
No, so neither of our families were there. It was just
we
us.
had that big surprise. Well, you
So,
surprised me.
Yeah, so that I don't even think a lot of people even know this either. So I wanted our family is very important to us both.
Yes.
So I wanted especially like something to surprise Olivia with again. So whenever we got home, I had this dress laid out for her that I had picked out and like I knew that she would love and that fit her very well. And I laid it out, and so whenever she got home,
When we got home,
from Charleston, I already had my dress secretly altered. I had everything planned. I rented out, I guess our parents rented out like a little Italian spot in downtown Atlanta. All of our friends came in. All of my family flew in from Arkansas. All of my friends drove in, and we walked in the door to our apartment, and Olivia saw that dress, and she was like, "What?" And I was just like, I wrote on it, "Don't ask questions, just put it on and let's get ready."
When I knew we were going to probably do something like celebrate, but to the extent of what it was, I had no idea. And I think it's sweet because, you had gone through like all the effort to plan that, and everybody,
That was the hardest part, is like getting everyone together.
All the communicating and
they all
planning.
knew that it was also to celebrate you. But she had planned this whole thing with all of these people, not for me, for
for
us,
you,
but
yeah.
for me, And in the end, it ended up being for you too. And they
Yeah,
all
it was
knew that.
amazing. So yeah, we had a little engagement party with everyone in our lives, like family
and that
and
was a fun
friends,
night
and
too.
that was fun. So yeah,
Okay, so how long were you guys engaged before you got married?
18 months.
18 months.
Yeah.
A long time.
It was a long time, but we needed it.
Yeah.
Well,
We needed that.
I mean, it was the wedding of the century.
Yeah, it was.
It was amazing.
I wish every day I could go back to our wedding day. It was literally, and it sounds cliche, it was the best day of my life.
Like truly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even like off camera, off podcast, you guys literally were in tears last night reading your vows, like
Yes.
talking about how you would just relive it over and over and over again. And I mean, I wish I would have met you like months prior, because I'm like,
would've
oh, I
been
would have
there.
been crowd surfing with you.
We would have tore it up.
But tell me kind of like what you envisioned, and when you guys were kind of talking about wedding planning, like what you definitely knew you wanted, what you didn't, and then kind of like how it turned out.
So I think like our very first thing is we said we want a white wedding.
Yeah.
Like we want everyone to be in white. We wanted our dads in like the off-white ivory tux jackets. We knew we wanted a black tie wedding because in our minds we were like,
It's a formal
one day.
event.
Yeah,
We have one
party.
day. We'll never get it back. Like let's go
Yeah.
and do it how we want. And so we wanted things to have our touch. And so we're obviously, you can see by our home, very traditional style. And we wanted that to reflect into our wedding.
Yeah.
Well, and it was a very like old money, clean, traditional, like it was exquisite.
Thank
And
you.
I feel like we didn't want to leave out any details. So we had
Spent a lot of time on the details.
yes, so we had little match boxes that had an S on it, and then with the matches we had cigars that had a custom band that said Lunden and Olivia.
We had a stunning custom-made photo booth that took these like the best black and white photos at our wedding.
Majestic photo booth, and we got to design and create the entire wrap of the photo booth.
Oh,
It was so cool. It had like our monogram on it.
beautiful.
Had our script. We got the From Georgia with Love hats.
Oh, yeah, which were
Oh, I
huge.
were a
loved
hit.
those.
We
We
loved
ended
them.
up not ordering enough. I think we had like 130 people at the wedding, and you ordered 75 hats. And when our wedding planner brought out the hat, she brought them out on like the silver tray, whatever. She said they flew. Like,
I still see you guys repost people wearing those hats from the wedding. It's so cute.
And we wanted something that was us and like on brand and on, you know what I mean? I'm a hat girl, of course, and like the script and like it was ivory and like the tone, like the black, and like we knew that we wanted to gift our guests with something that they would wear over and over again, not with something like with our names or like with Stallings or something on it. So that's why we went that route. And then we had Claire Powell come, and she's out of Georgia, the University of Georgia. Is that in Athens, I think?
Yeah, in Athens.
And she hand painted, watercolored each of the guests. And it was just so fun. You know, really like fun. We wanted.
And we had seen that at weddings before, and we were like, this is so cute. And when we got in touch with Claire, and she was like, oh, I can do that. And I was like, we have to have that.
90% of the guests traveled. Yeah. And we wanted to acknowledge of like, we want to hug and kiss every single one of you guys for being here. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that was, I feel like, was like just the best of it all. And I told you last night of how the best part to me about the wedding was, one, getting married, right? Our first look, and like, I truly can't say like a favorite part, but something about the reception that was so electric and like you could feel the energy from everyone. Like you could see that everyone was just so genuinely happy for us. And like me, I kind of had like an aha moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like this is my life. Like I made it. Like I feel like in that moment we were standing on the stage and like yelling, singing "Long Live" to Taylor Swift and like all the things.
That
crowd surfing.
Oh, like the videos you were showing me last night, I was just a mess.
And I just looked out and I just was like, this is my life. And I truly thought at one point, going back to high school, like I was living a life that I never thought I would ever have in my life.
It's so incredible.
And so like to me, like I know that you like, you know, felt the same way, but like I told you last night, there was a time where I was like in a wedding, and I know that all the brides and grooms and everyone can relate to this, of like you have one day with those people, and like there will probably never be again a day that every single one of those people that you love and adore on her side and on my side will come together as one and spend that day celebrating you and your love. That will never happen again.
No. Yeah.
You know, so I felt like we did so good at taking in every moment and like loving on people and just, you know,
and just enjoying it.
Yeah, just enjoying
like we really
it.
tried to soak it all up.
Yeah.
Like
London was amazing.
Pulling me off the dance floor. She was like, we have got to go.
I was like, it was like the very end of the night, and we had not gotten in the photo booth yet. And she did not. She was like, no, I don't want to get off the stage. And mind you, anyone who our guests were there, they'll attest this. We stood on that stage and performed for our guests the entire night.
Personal concert.
I feel like this is my party.
We gave
Mr. Brightside
the night off.
Oh, last night?
Yeah. Like that was the energy. By the way, I got on Avery's shoulders last night. It was
they took me to this really cute speakeasy, which London doesn't drink. So I want to ask you about that too in a second. But so London drives Scotty and I to this super cute speakeasy, but they had a live band that was incredible, like so good. But these two like 6'5" men walk in front of London, who's so tiny, and I was like, "Bitch, you're getting on my shoulders." So I put her up on my shoulders, and I was like, "We're screaming to Mr. Brightside." It was so fun.
Yeah. So
okay, so speaking of that, because you talked before about how you don't drink, I actually don't know the story behind that. If you want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I honestly have never been a big drinker. Like, I'm not going to say that I've never had a drink before in my life, but like I never got into it in high school. I never got into it. And then obviously when I got to college, I was like dabbling into it. All my friends were doing it, whatever. And I would drink occasionally and like, but it was never like a big, huge thing where I was just like out hammered every single night, which it's college, right? Like that's not a bad thing. Not just my personal experience. And I think it correlates in a sense of that I struggle with emetophobia. I don't, if you guys don't know what that means, it's the fear of throwing up, and it sounds dramatic, but like
it's so real.
It is crippling.
Yeah, you have it like extreme.
Yes. And I think that part of it stemmed from that, but also in college, I guess to take a step back, in college, it didn't fulfill me, if that makes sense. Like I kind of tested a theory of like going out and doing the things that my friends were doing and being engaged with them and then not drinking. And I show up the same way every single time, if that makes sense. Like, I'm the same, and I enjoyed it more to like not feel, and like, granted, I did get shit from it, right? Like, people would come up to me and be like, you know, like, oh, not having fun, you don't have a drink in your hand, or oh, like, there's the DD, like, you know, just messing with me and stuff. And it was never like a mean thing or anything, but I did feel anxiousness coming from it, because I was like, oh, am I gonna have to go out and like fake it, or like, you know, like,
or drink if
or actually have to drink and like make myself feel sick and like then be anxious and then wake up and like, you know what I mean? I don't know, have anxiety. And all of my good close friends like know this about me, and I've always like respected it, and they've never questioned me about it, which I did not drink on our wedding night. I, in my little cup, my little, what is that, my coupe or whatever you call it, flute. I had ginger ale literally in my cup, and I didn't drink at all on our bachelorette trip. And I
mean, even last night when we're out having fun and Scotty and I got some drinks, like, would you get a Sprite?
I did, yeah.
And then we came home and you had a Dr. Pepper, and
I'll drink, you know,
you're
like
having
water
fun.
with lemon.
Like, we had a blast.
She was still crowd surfing sober
Oh,
at our wedding.
she was on my shoulders, dead ass. So
it doesn't stop her.
I don't want to say, like, I'm by no means saying that like drinking is bad, and like I'm not. That's, you know, not my place. But me personally, I feel like it created a sense of extra anxiety for me that I didn't know that I had. And I think that it stemmed from me, one, getting drunk and feeling like I was going to throw up, and like that causing anxiety, or me feeling out of control. That's the thing for me, that I felt like at a sense where I wasn't going to be able to control who I was around. You know what I mean? I don't know, like just being drunk. Like, I just didn't like it. And so it created anxiety for me that I didn't want to feel anymore.
Yeah.
And I just learned to create things that made me feel comfortable, as in like, I'll get a mocktail when we go out, you know, or I will.
We made mocktails all summer.
Yeah, made mocktails all summer. They're, you know, I post like recipes on TikTok and stuff, and making also people feel comfortable who are trying to stop drinking or trying to lean in towards a sober life. I always want to be that friend where you can come to, and if you're like, I don't feel comfortable here, I'm going with Lunden.
Yeah.
Or I always would create a safe space for my friends and Olivia and my like whoever I'm around, like out, that they know that they're taking home safe at the end of the night. And like, and I don't think that that's like a bummer for me. Like, people are like, is that not so lame that like you go out and you're around a bunch of drunk people? And I'm like, no, because like I literally act drunk when I'm sober. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like,
yeah, you're just like a fun, happy person.
So that's really what it stemmed from. And like just getting a little into like the emetophobia. If you struggle with it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there's no having to explain it. And there has been a couple things that have helped me get through it. One, I'm starting to dabble into therapy. I've never really been to therapy before. And I'm trying to like test out like different therapists, of like knowing like that, what is it, like, what do you call it? Not anxiety, but that, what is it called?
I'm trying to think of what you're thinking.
Are you talking about the exposure therapy?
Yeah, like that type of therapy is what I'm trying to say. That type of therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. And I have tried to figure out what therapist to go to and things like that. And like, I have, if you ever want to DM me, like, obviously I can't tell you the resources that I have because they're like different books and things like that. But there are a lot of things that I do that help me with my day to day, and it consumes you. Like, there are certain points of anxiety that will consume you and like give you like OCD traits, or give you, I don't know, different like life things that like you struggle with. But I tell people, like, sometimes people will be like, I never knew that about you. And it's like, obviously not something that I talk about. I'm like, hey, nice to meet you. I'm scared of throwing up.
Totally.
People are like, what? And like, some people I talk to, they're like, of course you don't. No one likes throwing up. And I'm like, no, I get it. No, but like,
you're like, no,
some people can literally just go and like do it. And like, I'm not to the point where like I can talk about it. Some people have it crippling to where, you know, literally needs to be trigger warning to like saying things and like things like that. So all in all, like, that's kind of what why I don't drink and how I feel better about myself when not doing it.
I appreciate you sharing. I mean, we talked about that before too, and I mean, it makes sense with the drinking too, because I've been there one too many drinks where I'm like,
and it's nice. Olivia doesn't really drink either.
Yeah.
And I mean,
well, I drank like in college. Obviously, I feel like I was in a sorority. I did all the things in college, and then I felt like when I got out, it was just never really, like you're saying, the sick was never really worth it to me. I also, there's a lot of alcohol I don't like. I don't like to drink alcohol and eat food. So I don't like to pair wine with stuff. Yeah. Like I was really only drinking to get drunk when I was. Yeah. Like I'm not a person who like wants a beer at the end of the day or a glass of wine at the end. I'm just not like that. So if she doesn't drink, I'm like, why am I drinking? Totally. Because we would only go out to get drunk and she doesn't want to. Yeah. So, but I mean, I'll have a drink. Like,
but like I still will never not go somewhere, not go out, or like concerts or like my wedding night, you know, and not.
Yeah, like wedding nights are perfect. I had a great drunk time at our wedding on our wedding night.
Oh, I saw the videos after.
Yeah, like I was chugging champagne out of the bottle, and
I loved it. Like I mean, it was so much fun. So that's kind of how we deal with.
It's the dynamic
with that. Yeah.
Okay, so wrapping up, I want to talk about, to me, one of the most exciting things, and that's your future and wanting to start a family.
Yeah, baby.
So what's the
so
plan?
Excited.
We get giddy just thinking.
Oh, you're gonna be the greatest moms.
We can't wait.
You're the greatest aunts already. Yes. So like you have your and dog moms. Like you have your own children. It's gonna
and to Stevie and Ziggy.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Still like I'm like, why didn't you bring them?
Yeah, because they would be worse than the dogs.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that the most, like, yes, we were excited for our wedding, but we talk about our babies every day. Well, I think we have our names, like, we, you know, go ahead.
It's something we've, like, personally, like, you've always wanted, and I've always wanted to be pregnant. I've always wanted to be a mom, like, looked forward to it for a long time.
We're both very maternal. Like, we want to be moms, and we want to be good moms. You know, we want to raise good kids, and I think that is what we're the most excited for right now, and, like, we're in the early stages of preparing for that, and there's some really exciting things coming up that we're looking forward to, and we're still like we are looking forward to being educated about it, right? Because right now, like, we just know what we find off Google and learning from other creators, which has been extremely helpful. Watching other lesbian, gay, other couples like going through that process of getting pregnant and stuff. So we're excited to
learn like what would be best for us. What does our timeline kind of look like? What does our fertility look like?
And also document that journey. Like that's a thing that we're going to do. That's exciting. We're going to document that because one for ourselves, right? Like we want to document that. Two, we know that you guys would love to see that. And three, we have been trying to find, and we hope that it could help other people, right? Like in the same similar situation of going through it and like answering questions and like our experience. We know it's not going to be the same for everyone. Yeah. But
something to relate to.
Yeah, something to relate to and look forward to. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like looking forward to being a mom with your partner. You know?
You guys will, I just know you'll raise the best kids, and like seeing your relationship with your niece and nephew and just how you are with the dogs, like the way you already talk about your future kids, like they're already here. Like I've seen that in your presence, and I'm just so excited for that journey. I already told him, I was like, so like I'll move in to help take the night shift.
Aunt Avery.
Yeah, because I'll be here. And we're like, seriously. Scotty will take photos of the birth.
Like that's like
full video.
I want to do the whole birth video and everything.
Scotty can
so
put it like right down there. I don't even care.
Yeah.
I need to see the whole thing.
Absolutely. No, because that's like your wedding. Like that will never happen again. Like that moment.
I just know we're gonna take so much pride, like in our family and like the way we raise our kids and the way we raise our house and things like that. So it's just very exciting to think about.
Just want to raise kind humans.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
You say that all the time.
And
I say it all the time.
We are like learning from you also, like you telling us about like Avery has not stopped talking about her kids all weekend, which has been we are like. So what's Stevie and Ziggy? Show us a picture. Like,
I mean, half of it's us. We're like, what's going on?
Yeah, and so I feel like also being surrounded by, people that have kids and that are raising their kids in just a similar way.
Moms.
Yeah. Like my sister and like your sister, like it's just like so refreshing to see. Yeah. And I feel like it gives us confidence also because,
We have a lot of
you
people
guys
to
are the
look
people
up
who are
to.
going to be like,
Yeah.
hey, can
Yeah.
I call you? Can I
Yeah.
FaceTime you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what
So-
parenting's about. Like when my mom would come stay with us for 4 or 6 weeks when both my kids were born to help, just so I could like take a nap.
No,
Yeah.
for
Or
sure.
I'm calling because I'm like, this kid won't stop crying. Like, what do
Yeah.
I do? And it's different when it's your own kid 'cause you just love them so much. But when you have that amazing positive village, of
sure.
parents
Yeah.
around you, like you just learn so much. So, I'm only a call away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll fly
Just
over.
only like a 5 hour
I'll hop on that
We're
flight
trying
so
to get
quick.
Avery to move to Atlanta, but
She seems like she wants to.
It's so pretty here.
what was your
love
favorite
it.
part? What was your favorite part?
Yeah.
Let's ask you questions if you don't mind. One
Okay.
question.
If
What
you
was
don't
your-
mind.
What was your favorite part about the city? Or I guess like our town?
Well, I love being in your home. That's like been my favorite because it's so cozy. I love the character here.
Yeah.
Like the old homes, the old buildings, just like it's like classic. Like
Yeah.
when we were driving through that windy road with all the trees and the beautiful homes. Like the Christmas decor here, it's like
Magical.
Home Alone, but like times a million.
Literally.
It's literally magical.
that.
And every place we go for the podcast, which is like such a blessing that we're able to travel and see all these places. It's crazy to see how different each place is.
Yeah.
But this is it's so homey here. Like I feel like it's so amazing to raise a family in a place like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's one of our favorite parts too. We feel like it's a very good place to like raise a family.
Like we're always like, oh, we're gonna take our kids to play t-ball there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna take them to.
This is their elementary
they'll
soccer.
go to school here.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just like I don't know, we're
we like
excited.
to daydream.
And Avery thinks that we're gonna have girls, right? You think that we're gonna have girls?
I think, well, like we were talking about how, I think Liv and I were talking about this, where I envisioned myself just being a girl mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I found out Ziggy was a boy, I was kind of worried because I'm like, I didn't mentally prepare to have a boy. So I'm like, how am I going to raise you? Because I was so girly. But then I told you after I had him, I was like, I could have all boys
Yeah.
if I wanted to. But of course, I was very fortunate when I got the best of both worlds because they're just so different.
Yeah.
But I mean, either gender, I mean, your kids are going to be iconic. Like the way you're
so
going to
excited.
dress them.
And I can't wait to
yeah.
tell you guys their names.
Their names.
Yeah, they won't even
already
tell
have them.
us.
Yeah, they're good.
We want you to be surprised.
Okay,
They're
fine.
so good, and they won't change. Like that's the thing is like
We know for
we
sure.
know for sure like what whether it's a boy or girl, like what.
Like our
we're gonna
first
name
boy,
them.
we're like, you will be this.
Yeah.
Our first girl, you will be this.
And if we have twins, they will be this. Like
Yeah.
I
know
love
We
it.
have a plan. For
we are
it
scared
all.
about the twins a little because it's likely that we
It,
might have
apparently,
twins.
it is likely. For,
Yeah.
For that.
I mean, I told you guys, like twins are my dream.
Yeah.
So like if I was ever fortunate enough to have twins, I would be just thriving. Because like I was telling you, the relationship between twins is just like unbreakable.
Yeah.
But I mean, either way, you guys will be so
Yeah.
fortunate to have just a happy, healthy baby.
Whatever
Oh,
we,
yeah.
whatever we
At the
get,
end of the
we don't
day,
care.
yeah.
Whatever we
Yeah.
have is what we have. But
Yeah.
we're curious to know what people think that we would have. I love to be like, what do you think? And
Yeah.
They're like, everyone's like, girl. And I'm like, I
Well,
mean, it
and
would
we
be a
can
girl
pick.
party if it
We
was.
Oh,
pick our
true.
gender,
but we don't,
want to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently there's this new thing, or maybe it's not new, but you can like,
My sister's
choose.
picking hers.
is she?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just like, I don't know. I'm just like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like
I don't. we don't
whatever's
care.
meant to be
Yes,
is meant to
for
be, which
sure.
is why I didn't find out Stevie's gender.
Uh-huh.
Because I was like, I know you're my last. I couldn't and I wouldn't change it. So like that element of surprise was so fun.
And like
Yeah.
whatever it is, like we're like either we're gonna have a girl party,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be girls rule this house, aka maybe Howie, I guess, is the only boy. But if we have a baby boy, like he will break it up for us. You
Oh,
know what I
yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it'll be fun.
When like you're saying like best of both, like
Yeah.
I would really love to experience both. While I think and right now, as far as I know, that I will do better on the girl side because I'm so girly, like you're saying. But
boy mom.
yeah,
You
I mean,
would.
I would thrive. I think I would thrive either way.
you would
like
be a
ballet,
good
but
boy
like
mom.
t-ball.
Oh yeah.
Something about t-ball does it for me.
You'd be coaching.
Yeah,
You'd be coaching the basketball team.
1,000%.
for golf.
Uh-huh.
I would
Oh,
be doing-
golfing?
Yes, I'd be doing like we're going to tennis lessons.
And
like,
we're doing all the things.
And like I can't wait to wake up and like how I hit the ground running like with my shoes on and stuff. I'm like, me and my kid, we're going to get donuts. We're going like I don't know where.
We're going to the
Olivia
park
is.
in the morning.
I already
We
know
are
she's a good
going-
cop. I can
Oh,
already
yeah.
sense it.
Oh yeah.
I especially with my nephew Suede.
Yeah.
She just melts. Like,
The way she talks about her niece and nephew, like,
yeah.
yeah. I'm so excited for
Yeah,
this.
it's game over when
we're
we get
excited
kids.
for kids, so stay tuned for that.
Well, I'm excited for you, and I am inviting myself to be a part of that journey.
You will be.
You'll be at the baby
You get
shower.
the baby shower.
Slay.
You too, Scotty.
Yeah, you too, Scotty.
Well, thank you guys so much for being on and being the season finale.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
No, I'm honestly honored, and just the fact that you guys were so warm and hosted us in your home, we just felt so special. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. We love you.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Bye.